Good morning. This is Miss Sasick for Miss Overlander and Miss Sasick's history class. Today we're going to learn about archaeology, what it is, why it's important, and some uses and discoveries that archaeology has made, including some recent ones. What is archaeology? Archaeology is the study of cultures of the past by finding and examining artifacts. So if you look here, you see some artifacts. You see, things that are everyday items to people back then, like tools. Those look like some arrowheads and fishing hooks, pottery pieces. Think about the stuff you use every day today: a pencil, your iPod, some of your clothing, some of your even cars. Those would be artifacts for people in the future when they look back at our past. And those would be artifacts to them. Examining are those artifacts. Again, some of those artifacts, they are discovered objects, things that are found from the past, like bone fragments. That is included as an artifact. And I mentioned pottery pieces as well as arrowheads. Those are artifacts. Just a few examples. Okay. Why do we need to study archaeology? Well, the problem is very few ancient cultures have written language. Man didn't just, come to Earth and discover fire and say, hey, I'm going to write about it in my diary tonight. They didn't have written language. Instead, they used pictures to communicate what was going on, pictures about animals, hunting pictures, and caves and on rocks, and as well as carvings that you see in ancient cultures. They gave us clues about what was going on back then. Some things that archaeologists have found, well, over 20,000 years ago, as the world was entering the Ice Age, enough water was frozen into the ice caps of the north, and there was land connecting to what is now Russia and Alaska. So Russia on the Asia continent, and Alaska, which is on the North American continent. And there was a strip of land known as a land bridge across the Bering Strait. And there you see there how, with the red arrows, how people walked across the Bering Strait into North America and into the North American continent. Through archaeology, they came up with some theories on how the first people came to North America. And they believe the first people of America were nomadic, meaning they followed their food. They're not like us, who get to go to the grocery store and settle down and live in their house and get food whenever they want and grow their food. They followed their food, for example, like the woolly mammoth. And over time, as these people dispersed over the continent, the Native Americans, as we call them, they began to settle down and set up different types of civilizations based on the geography and the natural resources that they used. They used what was available to them. So here is an artist's depiction of the woolly mammoth based on what archaeologists have found with leftover bone fragments in their digs. And here's another map of the migration routes from Asia, which is Siberia, in the map, and to North America. There's still a lot that scientists and archaeologists are learning about these early people that came to Americas. Very important discovery was found here in Virginia at a place called Cactus Hill near Richmond in southeast Virginia. Through artifacts that they have discovered almost 15,000 years ago, these artifacts are that old, it makes it one of the oldest sites in North America. Archaeology is not only for ancient or cultures that don't have a written language. Archaeologists use their tools for other things that we don't necessarily know what all that happened. For example, you see a map here that John White drew of Roanoke Island. You might remember from 4th grade, Roanoke Island was known as the Lost Colony. Not sure what happened to the settlers there. They disappeared, but they have found evidence of them being there. Here's a coin from 1583 that was discovered in that area, and that settlement was settled around the 1580s. And then here is one of the archaeological sites that is still there today at one of the, it's called Fort Raleigh, where they believe that the settlers were. Oh, let's hit play. Archaeology has also been used in local projects like the Mount Zion Church, which is located at the roundabouts in Aldie. If you look, there is a cemetery in the back of the church with surrounded by a stone wall. And on the outside of the wall, closer to the woods, there are two gravestones, and those are two African Americans from after the Civil War during Reconstruction. And even in death, unfortunately, there was still segregation. African Americans were not buried inside the church, the cemetery walls. They were buried outside. And archaeologists use something called GPR, which is ground penetrating radar. So instead of digging, they use this radar, and it gives sound waves back. And when they used this at Mount Zion Church, not only did they find the two bodies of those graves of the people who those gravestones belonged to, but they found at least about 60 other bodies in the area in the woods, and those are presumably burials of slaves. And slaves, remember, they're considered property, did not have social status back then, and even in death, most of the time did not receive a proper. Jamestown also today, even though we know a lot about Jamestown through written records, you can still go there today and find archaeological sites within the park that are marked off. And even recently, as over the summer, there's been a big discovery. They found 4 new bodies that they had not found before that are buried outside the church. And what I'm going to show you in the next slide is a video describing the discovery and some of the tools and science that they used to help them put those puzzle pieces together. If you click on the link below, you will see a video talking about the most recent discoveries that archaeologists have found in Jamestown over the summer. This is the end of the presentation after the video. Thank you. Have a great day.